Welcome to another episode of the Boom Breakdown. My name is Brian Kelleher. I'm a professional mixed martial artist. I have a record of 16-7. Been in the game for a while, been doing this for 10 years, but I'm also a huge fan of the UFC and MMA in general. So, started this new show called the Boom Breakdown. Welcome, cocksuckers. Alright. So I'm going to get started here with UFC Sacramento. I'm not going to go through all the fights. I'm mainly going to just pick the fights that I like, but we'll cover most of them. So starting with Eddie Wineland and Takeya Mizugaki. Both similar records. It's a pretty even matchup. I would give the striking advantage to Eddie Wineland. I think he has a lot better movement than Takeya. Also, the power advantage as well. And coming off of, Takeya's last fight, he got knocked out by Cody Garbrandt. So, I mean, that's not a good sign when you're an older fighter. It seems like you're on your downfall. Coming off a knockout. Eddie Wineland's got speed, he's got aggression, he's got movement, seems to be the more well-rounded fighter. Now, I haven't seen much of Eddie Wineland on the ground, but I do notice that he's very hard to take down. I think Takeya's best chances are to take this fight to the ground, but I pretty much see a striking battle. And I could see Wineland either finishing by KO or decision. I'm going to go with Eddie Wineland. Next up, we're going to go with Holtzman and Emmett. Now, Holtzman's a former hockey player, so he's for sure an athlete. You could tell by his stature, too. But Emmett is one of the guys from Team Alpha Male, and I was very impressed with his debut. He seemed to be like a very well-rounded guy. He's undefeated, very, very confident fighter. Stays in the pocket, willing to exchange. Holtzman, I haven't seen too much of. His last fight, who did he fight last? Let's see here. His last fight was against Cody Pfister. He won by decision. Yeah, Cody Pfister's another grinder. Before that, he lost to Drew Dober. Yeah, I mean, this is a pretty fairly even matchup. Let's check out Josh Emmett and see what he's been up to. Holtzman's 9-1. Emmett's undefeated. But from what I've seen, I think it's a pretty even matchup. I would say this one's going to go to decision as well. But I think I'm going to give the nod to Emmett. He just seems like he's got that mental strength. Very confident fighter. He's got the undefeated record. A very explosive guy. Good wrestling. But willing to exchange as well. He's 31 years old. His last fight was a win over John Tuck, which is, really seasoned guy who's a gritty, aggressive fighter. So I'm going to go with Josh Emmett by decision on this fight. Alright. Moving along to Barberena and Covington. Barberena coming off that win against Sage Northcutt. Sage saying, he was on some antibiotics or something, wasn't feeling well, was sick before the fight. Barberena is one of those guys, though he's a grinder, but Covington, man, that guy shows a lot of dominance in the cage. I mean, so far, so good with him. He's been a very, very aggressive wrestler, not afraid to keep the pace high, stay in your face, grind you against the cage, get the takedown, pass guard. I mean, Barberena and Covington are kind of similar styles, but I feel like Covington just does it better. More athletic guy, in my opinion, so I'm going to go with Covington by second or third round TKO stoppage on the ground. Next up, we got Cole Miller and Hirota. Cole Miller, in a recent interview, I saw him mention something about, just not really having fun anymore with the training. And I know that can happen time to time, but that's not a good sign for a guy who's, a veteran of the game, older guy, been in there, been in some wars. When a guy's talking like that, it's never really a great sign. But, I also think he's not happy about the way the UFC is treating him. So maybe that's motivating him. We'll see. I don't know. But Hirota, on the other hand, he's a guy from Japan. Let's see. He's coming off 3 losses and a draw. Man, that's a guy that's got his back against the wall. He's lost a bunch of decisions, though, so it's been close fights. But he's lost to a few guys who aren't really on that much of an up climb. Cole Miller is a very savvy veteran, very good jiu-jitsu skills, black belt on the ground. He's got the reach advantage. I think he knows how to use his reach enough. He does get taken down sometimes, Miller. He does get hit a little bit, but he's got a pretty good chin. And I think he's well versed on the ground compared to Hirota. I'm gonna go with submission, 2nd or 3rd round for Cole Miller. Moving along to Juban and Perry. Man, Perry's a really exciting up-and-comer. I like his personality. He's an interesting, captivating guy. Kind of reminds me of myself earlier on in my career. A little bit of a hot temper, but he's got that tough mentality. Nobody's going to beat him. He's in your face. Confident guy. Kind of like a Mike Tyson style guy where he's just willing to take a punch to give a punch. He's in there with a tight style in the pocket. He's not too tall for the weight class, but short and stocky. Juban, on the other hand, he's an athletic guy who's a southpaw, who's very tall, lengthy, athletic, knows how to use his reach, not willing to, he's very willing to exchange again in the pocket as well, although he is a model for, I don't know, Versace or something like that. But, man, I think Perry can catch him with a big punch. He's, durable, got good cardio. It seemed like the last fight he did get slightly, gassed towards the 3rd round, but that was a very high-paced fight with Roberts. Man, but he stuck it out and he got the finish in the end. So what could you say? I mean, he looked tired, but still with killer instinct in the later rounds. Juban is kind of the same way though with the killer instinct. I mean, he's a really seasoned stand-up fighter, very good on the ground, very active. He looks to cause a lot of damage. Ultimately, I'm going to go with the young, hungry lion here in Mike Perry. I think he's on his up climb. I think momentum's a very powerful thing. Juban's got other things outside the octagon he's focused on. In this game, you got to be focused 100%. Seems like Perry's on that right foot. So I'm going to go with Mike Perry by 2nd round TKO. Now we got Uriah Faber and Pickett, both of whom are making their retirement fights pretty much in this fight. They're both on their way out. Faber fought, Jimmy Rivera, who I've fought in the past, in his last fight. And, he lost the decision. Didn't really look too good in that fight, in my opinion. But ultimately just got outpointed and outskilled by a more technical and high IQ fighter, Jimmy Rivera, who's on his up climb as well, with a lot of momentum behind him. Faber, someone who's really hard to finish, got a pretty good chin. Pickett, on the other hand, he's willing to really exchange and get in the pocket and throw heavy boxing. He's got good movement, good boxing, but he takes a shot and he gets hurt in his fights. He's shown that he gets a little rocked, by big punches. I think Faber's going to come out in his hometown, guns blazing, trying to, get out of this game on a high note. I think he's still pretty athletic, pretty quick, in and out. Pickett, on the other hand, has also been shown to get submitted in some of his fights. And I think Faber has the power here to catch him with something, with his speed, and, maybe jump on a submission after he catches him, has him rocked a little bit. I see Faber finishing the fight by submission, 2nd or 3rd round. It's going to be back and forth war with this fight. I think there's going to be some excitement. Maybe both guys get caught with things, but ultimately I think Faber has the better chin, and I think he's going to have that Sacramento crowd fueling him, and he's going to come away with the win by submission. Mickey Gall, Sage Northcutt. Man, Mickey Gall's got that cocky, confident type demeanor about him, and he's got really dangerous ground skills. And I think he's aggressive enough to get in Northcutt's face. You know, Northcutt's got the athleticism. He's got a little bit more of a diverse style of karate. His stand-up's a little different, a little more threatening, a little tricky. But Gall seems like he's got his shit together. I mean, I think he's got, you know, a lot of good training partners. He's a lot more experienced than his record shows, you know, because who he's trained with his whole life. Northcutt, you know, he's doing his thing. He's traveling. He's training at good gyms. He's a really athletic kickboxer, or, well, no, karate guy. But I think that Gall is going to be able to get the fight to the ground at some point, and we saw in Northcutt's last fight, granted he was sick, that Barberena was able to take full advantage of that ground game and stifle him and just, you know, work positioning, ground and pound. But I think Gall has a more of attacking style on the ground and not afraid to take risks. You know, he's very aggressive with his ground and pound and submission transitions. I think he's going to catch Northcutt in submission in the second or third round. We got our main event, VanZant and Waterson. Both very athletic females. VanZant pushes the pace, scrambly girl, non-stop action. She's showing a very flashy knockout kick in her last fight. But I think Waterson's very much more experienced than VanZant as far as the game of martial arts and doing martial arts her whole life. And VanZant trains with a good camp, but I don't see her being able to do anything to Waterson. You know, I see Waterson being a little bit more versatile, a little bit more smart, fight IQ. You know, I see her being able to take Paige down. Granted, Paige is a great scrambling fighter and great active fighter, but I see Waterson's experience taking a toll in this fight, and I think she's going to come out with the decision. I think it'll go 3 rounds. None of them really have that much knockout power in their hands. Granted, Paige knocked Beck Rawlings out her last fight. That was a switch kick right to the jaw. I mean, anyone's going to go down from that, but I don't think you're going to hit that every time, so I think this fight's going to go the distance, probably a back and forth, pretty close fight, but I think Waterson's going to be able to outposition her and outpoint her on the feet, and has a little bit smarter movement, and she's going to come out with the victory by decision. Boom! That's the Boom Breakdown. We'll be back next card. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Stay tuned. I'm going to have some fight announcements soon. Hopefully fight before January, the end of January, early February. And then we're going to be looking to make that UFC debut, alright? We'll see you guys next time. Boom.